So we're back again, talking about the Descendants franchise, the Disney series, not the depressing George Clooney movie. Anyhow, we marveled at the glory of the first film, a film that defied all expectations and against the odds, managed to take a concept that truly did sound very terrible and turned it into one of Disney Channel's most successful projects ever, getting millions of viewers, selling merch and costumes like hotcakes, and just creating an absolute banger of a movie. It had no right to be as successful as it was, but here we are. And yeah, it was tremendously successful. And then we came to the second one, which was released 2 years later, and it was just as successful as the first one. I personally didn't like it quite as much on the rewatch, but hey, it is what it is. It still did pretty well for itself. And by pretty well, I mean tremendously well. And then we came to the third one, which I remember not really liking at all. But now I'm starting to think that maybe part of it was that the actor for Carlos had only just recently died. And so when I saw it, I could only really focus on that. But yeah, the third one's still a huge success overall, a massive money spinner. And so here we are, on the cusp of a rewatch of the film. And from what I can see, once again, this film did tremendously well for itself. After 3 days, this bad boy had 8 million viewers. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 78% critical score and a 65% audience score. And it also netted Dove Cameron a Kids' Choice Award. I don't really know how prestigious that award is, but hey, you can mention it. Not too shabby at all. The franchise finished on a high. But once again, like I said, I don't really remember vibing with this one, so I guess we'll see what happens on the rewatch, right? So the film begins with a brief monologue by Mal talking about the state of the kingdom, and it's kind of just there to remind people about the franchise and what's going on. It gives a very short crash course to anybody who's inexplicably decided to start off the franchise for the first time with the third film, although to be fair, I did personally watch Catching Fire in theaters, even though I'd never even seen the first Hunger Games movie or read the books or anything. Had no idea what the franchise was. So I guess I have no room to talk there. Either way, they overlay the narration over the top of some pretty ugly helicopter nature shots. I don't know, some of those felt pretty fake. And then there's the obvious bad CGI of the Isle of the Lost. Something about those terrible effects in these films just makes me smile. Anyway, it's seemingly not been long since the end of the second film, as they're talking about Dizzy and the 3 other kids coming to the Isles. Kids that they're calling Villain Kids, VKs. A shortening that I know I'm going to find annoying. But yeah, Dizzy got her letter at the end of the last movie, so I doubt they've left her hanging on the island for long, so realistically, it's been days or weeks at worst. And already, instead of people being bitter and angry at the Big Four, like Uma and her gang were, now everybody's chanting for them, singing, they're happy, they're excited. Ooh, pick me to leave. Pick me to leave the hellscape. Me next. And then, absurdly, despite being selfish villain kids, like, we seriously go over how all these kids are taught to be bad and whatnot in the first 2 movies. So you'd think that most would be super salty that they were not in the next batch picked. But instead they're all celebrating, they're bowing down. Also, we have a massive song and dance number in this section too. It's pretty generic, honestly, but as you know, it's hype and all, but I wasn't really feeling it. I think I prefer when they straight up sing. That's where the film soundtrack always shines the most, but when they try to rap, I don't know, it's often rather cringe to me, so oops. Anyway, the other kids are Shmi's 2 sons, who are completely irrelevant in this movie, and Dr. Facilier's daughter Celia, who is actually important. And I gotta say, it's funny how they introduce them like this. Even amongst their peers, who would all know them already and shouldn't need to be told who their parents are, they still say who they are. They force it so that we, the audience, are able to understand. I mean, I know why it's necessary, because otherwise, how the hell are you supposed to know who they are? But regardless, it is still funny to me. Also, what's up with most of them giving such contrived names to their kids? We then return to the mainland, where Ben and Mal are still going strong, and they're waiting for Uma to make a move and do something dastardly. Mal's hair's undergone a significant improvement in this one for me as well. But you know whose hair has not improved? Doug's. Why does Doug have this long-ass hair? Hasn't it only been a short while since the last movie? It looks ridiculous. And then you couple it with his terrible band outfit and terrible dancing in the next scene. Nope, throw the whole man away. I still do not get this relationship. I just don't understand. And then Ben, he starts singing his love confession song from the first one, which is meant to be all romantic and stuff, and I was feeling it. The song's great, but the problem is, instantly I'm torn out of the moment. Because for some reason, Doug has removed his band hat and taken out his ponytail. He's picked up a guitar and oh, he's channeling Nick Cage. Look at him. Look at him. Look at this dude. Oh, he looks like when Beast becomes a man. Budget Dan Stevens. Oh, this moment made the movie. Oh, God. Doug. And then it all leads into Ben Proposing, yes. How old are these people? Like, yeah, it's fairy tale land, based on America, but still, they're acting like they're in the modern world with cars and TVs and microphones. So I'll treat it like they're in the modern world. When we see them in the first movie, aren't they like 16? Then it's been 6 months or so. They say that in the second one, from 1 to 2. And then you follow up with this one, which realistically should be a couple of weeks later, right? Bro's still in high school. Put your ring away, you doofus. And on top of that, they're literally right in front of the school, right? If this was real life and you saw a teen propose at the front of high school, you'd think, oh, that's trashy. But apparently not. And speaking of trashy, Audrey audibly screams out, "No!" in front of everybody when Ben proposes. Yeesh, take the L. But like nobody even acknowledges that she does it, which makes it even funnier to me. And so yeah, Mal says yes, hooray. Doug and Evie are kind of awkward because, they're still approaching the I love you stage. Like a normal teen couple that have been dating for like 6 months. And I mean, yeah, I guess getting publicly engaged at school at age 17 would probably overshadow Doug and Evie having cute movie nights and whatnot. But that's okay, I guess. And so, like I said, everybody's happy except Audrey and her grandma. Because for some reason her granny's here to welcome the new VKs even though she hates them all. And she talks some mad shit. Damn, Granny. And like, imagine being Audrey though. You have your boyfriend, it's all going well, you're probably going to be his queen, you love this guy, then this villain kid turns up, and your dude is already sniffing around a bit. Like, let's be real, you go back and watch the first movie, his eyes are a-wandering. Then he gets drugged, he doesn't bother dumping you before declaring his love for her and serenading her in front of everybody, including your friends, leading to your very public humiliation. He's then freed of the spell, he doesn't care, he doesn't make up with you or anything, he doesn't go back to you, he stays with her, and in fact he finds it romantic that she drugged him because she was nervous or jealous or whatever he thinks. And then they live happily ever after, in your life that should have been yours, whilst your salty granny talks shit to you, and you have to date that dumbass Chad. Jesus. Man, this is a very, very sympathetic villain origin story. Oh well, who cares? Anyway, the heroes then return to the Isle of the Lost to pick up the kids, and it all seems to be going well until Hades attempts to escape and gets into a pretty... well, let's call a spade a spade. It's a pretty lame and long-winded battle with Mal. It's basically them pointing and roaring as hard as they can. I'm pointing my wand as hard as I can! This franchise, judging by this and then Mal versus Uma in the last movie, they cannot do a decent battle sequence to save their life. Anyway, Mal's shaken up by this because, yeah, dude's a god, he almost got out. It would be pretty bad, I guess. Also, he's a contender for worst hair in the franchise, and you don't want people in Auron getting any ideas to look like that. Also, just a side note from the actor point of view, imagine coming into work and having to put that on your head and then try to do some serious scenes. But yeah, that's done with for now, and so we move on to the next scene. Audrey gets her own song, and surprise, surprise, it is a banger. I don't usually like spoken word sections in songs, but this was actually really good. And yeah, the gist of the song, she's salty, she's not going to be the queen, so she has to become an evil queen instead. And so she steals the crown and then Maleficent's staff, and she becomes like a fusion dance crossover between Mal and Evie. It's actually a pretty cool design if you ask me, and so yeah, there's our villain. It's not Uma this time. Moving on from that, we see the consequences from the events of the day before, along with Uma's escape, and combining that with Hades' near escape and the mysterious theft of the crown and scepter. And it has everybody shitting their pants. And so Mal and the old king and queen, who are really just the worst, and the fairy godmother too, they think that closing off the isle forever is the way to go. And only Ben thinks this is a truly terrible idea, because let's be for real, if the good characters were not so stupid as to give up magic forever, they could be standing guard outside the portal to ensure that no villain can actually ever escape. Like, come on now. What a joke. This society is so damn stupid sometimes. Anyway, we cut away again, this time to a scene where Mal vents to Evie about all this and also lies and pretends like she's standing up for the VK program and everybody else wanted to close off the isle except for her. Audrey then turns up and turns her into a hideous old woman. Woo! This makeup? Holy shit. Imagine if they kept it like this for most of the movie. Also, there's a brief scene just before this where two of the new kids steal some of Jane's birthday cake and love it because it's not covered in dirt and flies. How are the heroes still the heroes if they're forcing kids to live in these conditions? Yeesh! And so yeah, once again they're off to the Isle of the Lost to get Hades' Ember, which can in turn break the curse on Mal. Whilst Audrey crashes Jane's birthday party and blasts everybody with a sleeping curse, except for Jane, who escapes into the magic lake, whose water has the power to break spells, and then calls Ben to warn him about all this, and then calls her mum to tell her that she needs to get her wand. And see, this is why she should always have her wand on her, bibbidi-bobbidi dumbass. Oh, and Audrey also hits us with a real eerie and yet good rendition of Happy Birthday. And surprise, surprise, look who it is, it's Chad, and he's joining up with her because he's a simp and a dweeb. Honestly though, she is stealing the show. And so whilst the sleep spell slowly overtakes Auradon, we rejoin the main team on the Isle. They fetch the key for Hades' lair from Dr. Facilier, they get their bikes stolen by Hook and his goons, and so whilst the B team go and deal with that, Mal and Celia, Facilier's daughter, go to Hades' lair to get the Ember. And they have a very, very long-winded sequence where they sneak in, which is very boring, not gonna lie. That bike goes very slow. They could have walked faster than that. And wow, it turns out the dude is Mal's long-lost deadbeat dad. So she's a demigod. My goodness. Hell, depending on what Maleficent actually is, like in the Angelina Jolie remake, she's clearly some sort of forest spirit. So does that mean Mal's maybe a straight-up goddess? Either way, her and her dad play the Oppression Olympics to see whose life has been more difficult. And then they sing a pretty epic duet. And my god, we are not even an hour into this bad boy. And we have over an hour to go. These movies, they could really stand to trim some fat. Especially since they were made for TV, right? And they're like already sitting at, I don't know, 2 hours pretty much? How long did they go for on TV? With ads? Jesus. 3 hours maybe? My god. Maybe 2.5 hours. 3 hours seems a bit much. But yeah, I'm actually starting to realize that this movie is much better than I remember it being. Like straight up, I thought I did not like it. But I'm having a lot of fun besides it being kind of long. But yeah, we have another banger song. Who would have thought? And so she gets the Ember, she leaves, and then as the group leaves the Isle, Hook Jr. and Gaston Jr. follow them through in the nick of time. And who else should arrive but Uma? And she's had a bit of a glow up between films. She's ditched the lame pirate clothes, and honestly, it's for the best. And she steals the Ember and decides to keep it for the time being, but is still going to help them defeat Audrey, who's gone full crazy in the previous scene and turned Ben into a beast and left everybody awake in Auradon as stone figures. So she promises she'll help as long as Mal promises that every villain kid is going to be allowed to leave the Isle. So Mal lies and says yes, and the dude who plays Harry Hook keeps overacting and being a distraction in the worst ways. Dude, stop yourself. Hi, I'm Hook. Mate, cringe. Stop. And so now we have our new super team of heroes and anti-heroes, and off they go. And we have a couple of very long-winded scenes where they're all sort of clashing, especially Uma and Mal. Like, this goes on for a fair while. We get it. You don't like each other. Let's keep it moving, maybe. Just a thought. And so they head to Ben's castle, and I gotta say, in this modern world, does he really need a full castle all to himself? Seems a bit greedy, son. I mean, all those starving kids on the Isle of the Lost, man. Auradon sucked ass. Regardless, they don't find him yet, and they walk into a trap set by Audrey, where a bunch of suits of armor spring to life, and they have a song battle. Yes, a song battle. And the song itself is fine, but coupled with the choreography and the fact that these swords are the fakest looking things I've ever seen, I really struggled not to spend the whole scene just laughing at everything. And I'll be honest, I still don't really understand how they defeat them. Mal uses a spell that makes the suits of armor dance and follow their moves, or as she says, bust a move, which in turn makes them dance for a while, then they just all collapse out of nowhere. I really don't think the writer thought this through beyond, oh, we need to have a dance battle. Like, god damn it. But yeah, they go right back to the whole tension in the group storyline. There's still just under an hour to go in the film, so I guess we have a lot more of this to come. So the girls and the boys split up, and the girls go to look for Audrey, starting in her bedroom, where Uma reads her diary and laughs at just how, well, yeah, legitimately Mal did straight up ruin Audrey's life. Honestly, Audrey is such a justified villain in this story. And also they learn that Audrey's hiding at the fairy cottage that features in Sleeping Beauty. Oh, and the boys keep looking for Ben, and whilst they're doing that, Jay and whatever Gaston's son is called start to bond because that kid's actually very nice, and he's super innocent and excited about the world. Very wholesome. Is he just replacing Jay's love interest in this film? Because I only just noticed that Lonnie, Mulan's kid, is not in this movie. Guess she had a scheduling conflict or something. Maybe got a better role elsewhere. But there's no time to linger because now it's back to the girls. And instead of getting to it and sending them off to fight Audrey, we have more stuff to pad out the runtime. They go to Evie's castle, which I'll be real, isn't really a castle in my opinion, but okay. And Mal awkwardly side-eyes as they talk about how after the curse is broken, they're going to all bring the kids from the Isle and take them to Auradon, and it's going to be great, and they're going to be happy. Whoops. Honestly, imagine being such a class traitor. At first I kind of got it, but the more I think about it, the more I feel like she's just pulling up the ladder behind her, which is massively, massively selfish. Oh, I was lucky to get out of prison. I instantly did evil things despite getting out of prison, but hey, I got no punishment, and now I'm going to be queen, and I think it's best to not use that program anymore because it's too risky. Come on. We then find Doug sleeping on the floor. Evie tries to shake him awake, which leads to Uma asking if she's slow. Shots fired. And why is Uma suddenly the best character? Her banter has been top tier in this movie. You'll love to see it. They then suggest true love's kiss, but they haven't used the L word yet, so yeah. She sings a whole song about being unsure as to whether he loves her, and thus she's not sure if the kiss will work. God damn, and she's like dancing around his body and everything. I mean, it's not as strange as the suit of armor battle, but it is close. Very close. Actually, never mind. She picks up his unconscious body and dances around it. Oh, what even is this? Come on. Choreographer's wild for this shit. And he wakes up after the kiss. Hooray, it's love! Woohoo! Imagine if he didn't wake up, though. Yikes, that'd be one way to get dumped. And then we return to the boys, and they're still on the hunt for Ben, and they find him. Okay, so he's a beast. And he looks interesting. I mean, it does look better than I thought it would. Anyway, he has a splinter, and he's mad. And Carlos takes it out. And then Jane, remember Jane? She's out of nowhere here. She just comes out of nowhere. She blasts him with a water pistol. Turns him back because it's from the lake. Oh, this movie. You can't make this shit up. Oh, this is just the best. And it turns Ben back to normal, but now he has a beard and fangs. And honestly, I don't hate the beard. I really don't. And then we head back to some more filler sequences. Audrey's bullying Chad. Uma and Mel have a heart-to-heart. And then they team up to stop some of Audrey's magic. And then, come on, move it along. Let's get to the finale. How much longer we got? 40 minutes! Oh my god! And so then we have the big reunion sequence, and that's all well and good. But of more note than the reunion, I don't care about the romance here. I care that Carlos gives Jane the worst and cringiest present of all time. My god. Look at this, you can't be legitimate. He combines their name into one for a necklace. Jarlos. It's one of those names you see a mummy vlogger give their kid and you just have to raise your eyebrows. So, this is Jarlos. And I'll be honest, they spend way too much time talking about this necklace. Anyway, the irrelevant characters go off to find Fairy Godmother to get them out of the way, whilst Ben leads the main group to the fairy cottage and finds not Audrey, because we still have over half an hour to go, but just Chad, who's been locked inside the storeroom, I guess, and he's gone crazy, and then he runs away screaming as soon as they free him. Because of course, it's Chad. And then after this, Mal has the bright idea to reveal that she's been lying the entire time, and that the program has in fact been shut down. And I'll be real with you, whilst I disagree with her actions, I think this was probably the worst time to reveal this. Honestly, you should have beaten the villain and fixed everything, and then screwed them over. That's how everyone else would do it. This is Politician 101. But hey, what do you know? They're all mad. Of course they are. And Celia takes the ember and chucks it in water, so now it's useless. That's what you get. Like, what did you think was going to happen? You think they were really just going to let you screw them over like that? Come on. Then Uma and her crew vamoose, because, why help if you're just going to get chucked back into prison for good? And then Mal's friends are also pissed because, like I said earlier, she's pulling the ladder up after her after she's climbed up. Massive dick move. And then her friends get turned to stone. She's all alone. She sings a sad song about how much she sucks. True. And then this song was bad. Not a banger. And then we have the battle. Mel becomes a dragon. She dodges some magic. She gets hit. She tries to ignite the ember. She fails. Uma inexplicably changes her mind about helping with no real build-up and helps her ignite the ember. Mal beats Audrey in yet another deeply anticlimactic and honestly dull ending. Really, is it the best they can do? A Harry Potter-style laser beam battle? Lame. And you'd think that we're almost finished now, right? Wrong. There are somehow 20 more minutes of this film. And so they're all crowded around Audrey's deathbed. Good, she's dying. She's a villain. Just let her fade away. But of course they want to save her, and they need Hades to help. Oh, and they all still plan on locking up the Isle forever, by the way. No one's changed their mind on that. Everybody's on board. Even the villain kids. And they think Mal's right. Oh, you're probably right. That's bullshit, man. Feels like they very much rushed that plot development to the end. I like this movie a lot more than I remembered, but at the same time, it definitely feels like they wanted to do way too much with it. And so they bring out Hades. He makes a very good point that they're all concerned about Audrey and they're going to chalk this up to an error in judgment. But for the villains, Some of them, e.g. the wicked stepmother from Cinderella, they haven't done anything near as bad as this. Oh, you're an abusive stepmother. That's very much the same as trying to kill everybody in the kingdom. And yet, she and her daughters and grandchildren are all imprisoned for life. That doesn't seem very fair to me. And yeah, even after he wakes her up, they still cuff him and cart him off. What kind of bullshit is this? And so they have their fancy engagement party, and literally at the very last second, Mal realizes that perhaps the concept of the Isle of the Lost is a bunch of bullshit, and they take down the barrier. Hooray, let's end the movie. No, there's still more, and you're gonna like it. Okay, then we have a song to end. And yeah, it's fun. Not enough movies end with a giant choreographed dance sequence, honestly. I think the world would be a better place if all movies ended this way. And so, yeah, this movie was way better than I remembered it being. I mean, it has to have been the fact that that dude died. It made me feel awkward watching it last time. I think I just couldn't stop focusing on the fact that this young guy's dead. I can't believe it. Either that, or maybe at the time I hadn't quite embraced my true self of loving this sort of cringy trash. I eat this up now. I love it. I don't even care. I have no shame. I just gotta say, this is gonna be the best example of a franchise that just over-delivers in every single aspect. Look at the sets, the quality of the costumes, everything. Read the story synopsis on Wikipedia and tell me for a fact that would be a good movie. You can't. But then you combine it all and somehow, inexplicably, it has become an absolute masterclass. Disney Channel's greatest franchise. High School Musical. Eat Your Heart Out, Son. Get Lost. This is the king. Kind of eager to see what they're going to whip up for the fourth film, so yeah, I'm ready. So yeah, with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of Descendants 3, if you've watched it recently? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.